Autumn leaves in Shenley Park. The sound of bagpipes across the cut. Monday morning snow on the senior fence. Then hot coffee and Skybo with someone special. All-nighters, homecoming, spring carnival, finals. Memories and traditions to which we now add a new campus landmark, the University Center. And top it off with yet another grand Carnegie Mellon tradition, Scotch and Soda.
That glittering jewel is Pittsburgh, 1996. But if you'd looked down on Pittsburgh 58 years ago when the idea for Scotch and Soda, Carnegie Mellon's then Carnegie Tech's musical theatre club, was born, you would not have been alone. Everybody looked down on Pittsburgh in those days. It made steel, it made money, but it also made a terrible mess. The sky and the river belonged to the mills, and a white shirt belonged to no one for more than 20 minutes. A critic called Pittsburgh the cauldron of hell with the lid off. What he didn't understand was that it was the bubbling cauldron of intellect, effort, and imagination that would always make and shape the destiny of this city. And nowhere did that cauldron boil hotter than here on Andy Carnegie's little campus. The idea behind Scotch and Soda was simple and revolutionary, bringing students from all academic pursuits together to put on a show. Electrical engineers would get to dance with architects in tights. Drama students and physicists could put on putty noses and sing harmony, and artists, mathematicians, Maggie Murphs and printers could sew costumes, paint scenery, missing their cue and fall into the orchestra pit and love every minute of it. And oh, how beautifully it worked. So now, I welcome you to what I like to call your Scotch and Soda family album, a masterly multimedia selection of memory-jogging memorabilia, amassed, mounted, and made to measure for your pleasure by past Scotch and Sodaites and present-day Carnegie Mellon students, with just a dash of faculty for flavor. And now, with pride and a heartfelt tear or two for the passing of happy days and the never-to-be-forgotten pain of having to graduate and get a life, we present 7 decades of Scotch and Soda's memories in videos showing historic moments from each era in this, our ridiculous century, and in video interviews with former Scotch and Soda members, many of whom you may still wish you had married, or at least got closer to while you were still young and stupid. And at no additional cost, always a biggie for a Scotsman, your SNS family album will also include live musical numbers from selected shows. I'm Mr. Scotch and Soda, and I'll see you later. Now, sit back, relax, and remember if you can.
My sweetheart wears the plaid, though it may only be just a ribbon in her head. My sweetheart wears the plaid, and to me she's a she who's the fairest of the fair. My sweetheart made me glad when she promised that she my future life would share. And when we raise our clan on the Carnegie plan, they will go to CIT just like their dad and his sweetheart who wears the plaid.
I was made the choreographer only because I knew how to dance. And as I looked through the pictures of these shows, I see that the majority of the dancers were students from Maggie Murph and other departments and other colleges that just happened to know how to dance, even though they were going on to be chemists and metallurgists and so forth. They still did have a dance experience, and so they joined us. Of course, the school orchestra was all performed, lifting their instruments from the music department's lockers for all rehearsals. and rehearsed in clandestinely in various areas of the city so that nobody knew what we were doing, or their teachers or whatever. But as time went on, it became a fait accompli. They couldn't stop us, and we began to get support from various areas around the campus, and so it made it a lot easier. I must say, it was a huge, it was a project. It was a 2-hour show done in about 3 weeks, I would say. And you know that a 2-hour show with music and dancing and sketches is a huge task. I don't know how we did it. It was, I guess it was because we were young and had all the energy in the world and were not fazed by the impossibility of putting it all together.
It was kind of big news on campus when we started the Scotch'n'Soda show. Johnny Blankenship, who is now the head of the drama department at USC, was a very close friend of mine. I loved Foo, well, we called him Foo Finkel, his name was Bob Finkel, and Buzz Blair, who was the director, said, Hazel, we're going to do Scotch'n'Soda and we want you to get involved. And I said, well, how do you mean? They said, well, either play one of the parts in the sketches or do something special or be one of the writers. So John and I locked ourselves in one of the rooms, and we decided to write the music for an Anthony and Cleopatra sketch. And I don't know, when something like, I'm here alone on the river Nile, Anthony has left me for a little while, I'm all alone, I sigh and I moan for that Roman of mine. It was really a big smash hit.
The first show was called No Strings, and it was a review. And there was a date bureau. I remember, gosh, I have some stuff around the house, and I haven't been able to find it. In anticipation of your coming here, I looked hard, but I know it's here, and I'll find it. But there's some music. There was a song. I wrote two. I wrote a lot of songs, but I realized along the way that this shouldn't be my effort. It should be a campus show. And so while I did write I think I wrote all of the sketches, but I wrote only 2 numbers that were in that first show. One was called Purely Platonic, and the other one was I'm a Fraternity Man. This was about a date bureau and about how he's got his pants rolled up and he wears a bow tie and he's got a short haircut and all, but he can't get a date. I don't have to wear these, but I'm gonna. Like little Jack Horner, I hid in the corner, just twiddling my thumbs, 'cause I'm a Charlie McCarthy when I try to be the life of the party. I've got the pants rolled up, I wear bow ties, I've got jackets galore, but I don't stay out late 'cause I can't get a date. I'm a fraternity man. I've got a camel hair coat, I wear white shoes, my wardrobe is so complete, but I have no rapport, I'm just neither nor, I'm a fraternity man. When the fellows rushed me, they said I'd have girls at my feet, but when I give a co-ed the eye, I just don't generate heat. I've got a crew haircut, I wear loud socks, I call the bathroom the John, but it just makes me sick 'cause I'm a hick with a chick, and I'm a fraternity from here to eternity. I'm a fraternity man.
We came in that year, a bunch of guys who were crazier than the normal run at that time of Carnegie Tech drama fellas. We were full of fun. We came as college boys. We didn't come as drama students, we came as college boys. I don't know whether we all figured it was an easy education or what, but in any case, and that was the formation. Those guys were the beginning of what eventually became Scotch'n'Soda. It was that fun element and the fact that we wanted to do a musical. The opening of the third show, One on the House, We had a screen on stage. Curtains were into the sides of it, a large motion picture screen that was actually paper. And on it we showed clips, film clips that we had done of the cast singing the song, One on the House, which I won't sing because I can't remember it. But there would be twosomes, 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 and then at the end of the first chorus, we'll say, the whole cast was marching around the campus and came right down to the camera. And as they parted at the camera, and when the last two hit that point where they were ready to part, the first of the line actually burst through that screen and onto stage. And we thought that was the cleverest opening that had ever been dreamed up.
Well, it's good to see nothing's changed around here, Mark.
30 years later, we're still moving the piano.
Pianos. Okay.
That looks pretty good. Hi, I'm Mark Parolo. The other piano mover is David Spangler. Between the two of us, we were responsible for the Scotch'n'Soda shows between 1968 and 1971. David and I came here in 1966 to Carnegie from Denver and Chicago, two Midwest boys in the brave new world.
Ask me a minute of my time and tell me something I don't know. Give me a minute in return. You may be glad you didn't go. It doesn't matter if I know you well or not, 'cause you're here right now, and now is all we got.
We were blessed, or maybe cursed, with testing our creative wings during a time when all hell was breaking loose. I mean, up until that point, popular music was always derived from Broadway or from Tin Pan Alley. But at that point, things started to change pretty rapidly, and
No, don't make me
yes.
do that song. I hate this song.
We decided on this, David.
Okay, it's too late now, right?
Yes, it is. He always does this. It's just like writing the shows all over again.
It's true.
What theater needs today is more go out and give 'em hell, more pizzazz and sparkle, more break a leg, more smile and sell. That's the advice that the Burbage brothers gave a young William Shakespeare in the very first show that David wrote for Scotch'n'Soda in 1968. That is the question. What theater needs today is just a little guts and blood.
And for a change, we need some dirt.
Dirt, my foot, we need some mud. Why, up till now, it's just been one great big Bible story. So let us change the bill to something just a bit more gory. Well, I guess what David and I thought the theater needed, at least musical theater, was just some bit more connection with the world that we were actually living in.
That's right. And we were listening to rock music in those days. Mamas and Papas, Simon and Garfunkel, Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, and the Beatles. Mark, yes, yeah, remember that? So, when Mark and I first met working on that first show of mine, Mark was the scene designer.
A job that I would be filling for Scotch'n'Soda for the next 4 years.
We both submitted separate scripts for the next year's show, and God only knows why they picked his.
Indeed. One of the local critics said about Madam, that show, there is very little of any value to be found in this year's offering from Scotch'n'Soda. I'm sure at the time that I was terrifically insulted, but now, 30 years later, except for the wonderful cast, I kind of have to agree with him. Except that it was the first time David and I wrote a song together.
Well, Mark asked me if I would...
More like begged him. Yes.
Good to be begged. He asked me to help out on his show because his composer for the show they didn't choose of mine bailed. So I wrote a...
Yeah. So we're just going to skip the songs from Madam.
Right. Good idea. Okay, rather than competing, we decided to join forces. And for the next 2 years, we wrote Something Personal and Festival. And we really got to experiment with integrating rock music into the musical theater.
Well, if fun take you the way, let them play their game, 'cause
all around there's a sudden new sound, and a new way for people to say,
the time has come when man should see that everybody needs to be free
to follow his line and let me follow mine, and then everything will be just fine.
Day to day, hour to hour, time to time, and flower to flower, I follow the line, I follow the line.
If, like everyone else in 1969, we took ourselves just a little bit too seriously, we weren't above finding humor in our everyday lives. Take, for example, this song from Something Personal about what happened in those days when you lost your glass contact lens.
Glass contact lenses? Whatever. When I was a little girl, I had to wear glasses and dreamed of the day when I could throw them away. But then when I first got my new contact lenses, they popped and I dropped them all over the place. Do the contact, put your left knee down. Do the contact, put your right knee down. Do the contact, now look at the ground. What do you see? Nothing. What do you see? Nothing.
But along with that humor came a lot of heart.
After a rainfall, the sun shines brighter, and after a rainfall, the grass grows greener, and after a rainfall, the sky turns so blue,
had to do. But waking up with her is the hardest thing. I guess it always is. But she makes me feel so blue. I always thought
and I'm happy just being with
I
you.
never planned to wake up
After a rainfall,
I didn't want to know.
fields full of children are ringing with laughter, awake in a dream.
'Cause for the first
'Cause I
time back,
found one laughter.
wanting
The
something
birds have a new song to sing.
Baby,
And the
waking
rainbows
up doesn't have to be so hard, so hard
I suppose in the end, what those two shows, Something Personal and Festival, were really about were exactly what the 60s were about. Trying to make some sense out of the world around us and out of our lives.
I searched these city streets, and I've hitched along deserted highways. I found a friend or two, and we managed to get by. But I've worn my soul thin, and I still don't know why or where to go. I am lost, waiting to be found. I'm a song looking for a sound. A moth searching for the light. The moon looking for the night. Young, waiting to be old. Dumb, waiting to be told. I am suspended, looking for a hole. Looking for a
hole. Something or someone to hold on to, and eventually trying to find what we all want most of all.
something personal, but not so personal that it's impossible to share.
But what's personal may not be possible unless you take the time to care. So if you're wandering all alone and all the world seems cold, searching empty skies with starry eyes, reach out for a hand you can hold. Reach out for a hand you can hold. Something personal, but not so. Oh, Mark!
Yeah,
We never wrote an ending to this song.
I know, because it just faded into the next scene.
So what do we do now?
How about...
That'll work. Good.
In the end, Scotch and Soda meant as much or more to us than anything else that we did at Carnegie. And that's why we're here now.
It's just a thing I had in mind. I thought that we could work it out. As time goes on, I seem to find I don't know what it's all about. Could you just stay a while? The answer might be in your gentle eyes. 'Cause you're here right now, and God knows how the time flies.
It's spring on the campus, it's spring. It's spring in the hearts of the students of arts. Even engineers know that it's spring. It's spring on the campus, it's spring. Our ancient professors are now the possessors of springtime, that wonderful thing. It's spring for the Board of Trustees. They've changed to their light BVDs. The birdies tweet, tweet by the president's suite. And again I repeat that it's spring. Tra-la! Our dear deans of women and men, they think that they're 20 again. It's best in a way that the term ends in May, for there's too much hey hey in the spring. Hey hey!
What I do remember is that I have a couple of Scotch'n'Soda cards, which I don't know why. I found them in the file I have on Carnegie Tech. And it was Jim Boyce here signed one of them. And what I remember about Jim Boyce and some of the people at Carnegie in the Scotch'n'Soda was they seemed to think of Scotch'n'Soda as a business enterprise that they were doing that was separate from the school. And it was a kind of real-life experience, I think, for most of those people.
Hi, I'm Mitzi Cottle, and I'm now Mitzi Welch, but I was Mitzi Cottle when I went to Carnegie Tech, which is what it was called then. And I had come to Tech for the first year that I was there was 1951, I think. It's really hard to remember. It's a long time ago. And the first year that I was there, I can remember how the Scotch'n'Soda thing started for me. I was taking opera, which I knew I couldn't make a living at. So I was singing with bands to put my way through school. And I was in a practice room practicing. I was supposed to be practicing Orpheus, I think it was. But anyway, I was practicing with band pop stuff. And a pianist came in by the name of Jimmy Zumbro, a wonderful jazz pianist, and I was so thrilled to be at Tech because they had jazz people there and theater. And so when he came in and said, "Listen, I can hear you. I heard you singing from next door. Would you sing a song for me?" And I said, "Sure." And he wanted to know what song I wanted to sing, and I said, "But Beautiful," which probably nobody knows anymore, but it's a very pretty ballad. And I sang it for him. He took me by the hand. This is true. And he took me downstairs into a small room where there was a guy by the name of Chuck Conrad sitting. And Jimmy Zumbro said, "You got to hear this girl." And he said, "Just sing it the way you sang it for me." And I stood and I sang it to Chuck Conrad. And he started to smile and he said, "Oh, great, you've got the role if you want it." I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't know what role, I didn't know what he was talking about. And it was for Scotch'n'Soda, for a show called Good Heavens, where I played Venus, which is really unlikely, but that's what I did.
My name's Ron Friedman. I graduated in the Department of Architecture at Carnegie Tech. You've probably seen the name on old documents, in 1955. And I was an architect who had a hunger to be a dramat. It wasn't an insatiable hunger because my family decided I should have something to fall back on. They thought it would be architecture. I knew all the time it was my ass, and I've fallen back on it frequently. But I did practice architecture. And at Carnegie, I had a wonderful time through Scotch'n'Soda. And it was what enabled me to keep the motor running on my show business aspirations while I was being a dutiful architect. It was my escape every year from concrete structure design and art history not a complete escape. In a funny way, what I learned in architecture about structure and form has helped me tremendously in my career as a writer.
Well, I'll tell you why I was never in Scotch'n'Soda and why I never auditioned for it was it intimidated me. It was a big deal. It had much more going for it than the productions that we were doing in the theater. I mean, the energy involved and the talent that was involved, I was literally intimidated by it, which means that it was damn good. But I never did Scotch'n'Soda, never performed in Scotch'n'Soda, because I didn't know anything about singing. I barely knew about acting then. I did crew. That was safe.
Judith, McDonald, telephone.
Yeah, we're in the dressing room at the Minskoff Theater before a matinee in September of '95. And this is Sunset Boulevard, and we're doing it with Betty Buckley and George Hearn, Alan Campbell, Alice Ripley. And I play Cecil B. DeMille in this production, and I did it right from the beginning with Glenn Close in L.A., and now here in New York. And it's a great gig.
Love and marriage. Love and marriage went together like a horse and carriage. Now, some say it's phony, a one-stop shop for alimony. Yeah, there's no place like a campus for falling in love. Nobody doubted the existence of romance in the 1950s. At dances in the fraternity house or at the Shenley Hotel, Joe Stafford sang, "We should see the pyramids along the Nile. But remember, darling, all the while you belong to me." A suffering Pericoma told us he was just a prisoner of love. The Andrews sisters begged someone to teach me tonight. K-Star looked for love on the Wheel of Fortune, and Frank Sinatra said, "There's no mafia in Las Vegas. It's just an ugly rumor started by a bunch of guys buried in the desert." And when there was romance in those years, true love blossomed and was immediately followed by marriage, and they lived happily forever after. Or not. Scotch'n'Soda had its own views on the M word, which we present to you now. Watch with someone you love or someone who won't call the usher if you get too cozy.
When a woman makes your mind up, woman makes your mind
There
up.
isn't much that you can do.
There isn't much that you can do.
It's a sure thing that you'll wind up.
It's a sure thing that you'll wind up.
Kissing bachelorhood adieu.
Kissing bachelorhood adieu.
'Cause a woman ain't got scruples
when it comes to loving you.
When a woman makes your mind up.
When a woman makes your mind up.
There isn't much.
There isn't much.
There isn't much that you can do.
Women got a funny way of showing love.
Make you feel like you're the only one.
Comes the time she thinks a fella needs a shove. She talks of marriage, that's your cue to run. When a girl decides you love her.
When a girl decides you love her.
Just relax and don't fight back.
Just relax and don't fight back.
Though your IQ's far above her.
Though your IQ's far above her.
It's a female brain you lack.
It's a female brain you lack.
Things she knows ain't taught by teachers.
Ways to get you to them preachers.
When a woman makes your mind up.
When a woman makes your mind up.
There isn't much.
There isn't much. There isn't much that you can do. There isn't much. There isn't much. There isn't much that you can do. There isn't much. There isn't much. There isn't much that you can do.
The picture is nice, but will this love suffice? Come the washing and the ironing and the kids. As you wash every dish, you'll probably wish you had picked a wealthier bid. Now, I don't mean to scandalize. I only mean to emphasize how easily you jeopardize
money.
I've not got a cent.
And Will calls you honey.
But who'll pay the rent? Marriage is not for me.
Got a freshly pressed suit,
but no boutonniere.
Your white dress is cute.
I've no time to spare. Marriage is not for me.
Foolish little man with your pretty little mate. She does the best she can, but when's the wedding date? Just ask for a kiss.
I've been jilted before,
but not by the Smiths.
How can I say more? It's just that marriage.
It's wonderful.
Marriage.
It's marvelous.
Marriage.
Just wait and you'll see.
No, 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 no. Marriage is not for me.
Young and attractive.
I know, so was Jess.
Hey, she's not a gold digger.
I couldn't care less. Marriage is not for me.
You make a good mother.
But who'd be the dad?
Hey, try and snuggle her closer.
You're making me mad. Marriage is not for me.
Foolish Romeo with your lovely Juliet. We'll keep right on trying and get you married yet. Just ask for a kiss.
I've been jilted before,
but not by the Smiths.
How can I say more? It's just that marriage.
It's wonderful.
Marriage.
It's marvelous.
Marriage.
Just wait and you'll see.
No, 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 no. Marriage is not for me.
He proposed. Oh, what am I gonna do? He proposed. This simply cannot be true. This can't be what it seems. I must be in a dream. Proposed. Oh, what am I gonna do? He proposed. Oh, something's gotta be wrong. He proposed. I've lived alone for too long. This can't be what I heard. That idea's too absurd. He proposed. Oh, what am I gonna do? I'd given up hope. I hadn't a chance. He never looked my way. When all at once, from out of the blue, I'm his Beyonce. Oh, what'll I do? He proposed. I guess that it could be so. He proposed. And now I won't let him go. I've got him on a string. I'll hook him with a ring. He proposed. That's all that I've gotta know. Goodness gracious! Ah!
You'll have a richly furnished villa by the sea. You'll have a richly furnished husband, namely me. And rest assured, dear, if anything goes wrong, you'll have me all day long.
You'll have my smiling face to greet you every night. You'll have my radiant beauty ever in your sight. We'll be away from the fortune-seeking throng, and you'll have me all day long.
Pretty soon, if you think you're in condition, we can hope for a joyful new addition. The very prospect of it simply makes me drool.
A little baby.
No, our swimming pool.
We'll have a staff of servants, not a thing to do.
We'll have a maid for me, a butler just for you.
Our dream of happiness still is going on, and you'll have me all day long. Just think of the ethereal rapture. Just think of the heavenly bliss. The thought is quite impossible to capture. You always will have me to kiss.
My cunning mind,
my stunning look,
our love enshrined in pocketbooks. You'll have the sound of money singing in the air.
You'll have the grace of what they call a lady fair.
The very walls will all jingle with our song, and you'll have me all day long.
You'll have the ding-dong bell you constantly adore.
You'll have a budding Gruber's book on VIP.
We'll have a large plate of gold-plated mahjong, and you'll have me all day long.
And if life ever reaches a stagnation, we can try what's called multiplication. A little bundle full of joy for you and me.
You mean a baby?
No RXKE. You'll have an opulence beyond your wildest dreams.
You'll have a girl who can send most men into scream.
Our choice of happiness still is going strong. Oh, what joy, oh, what glee.
Lucky boy, you have me.
You'll have me all day long.
In this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
Certainly when I think back on my training at Carnegie Tech, I can't think of it as Carnegie Mellon. That sounds like something one eats with prosciutto, you know? When I think back on my training at Carnegie Tech, one of the highlights of it was that senior year when I directed not only Under Milk Wood as my senior directing project with a very talented cast who have all gone on to quite successful careers, but also the work that I did for Scotch'n'Soda, which was very energetic and sort of freewheeling and flying by the seat of our pants as we all did, but with a great enthusiasm and a delight, and being able to mix music and comedy and what we had learned in the drama department to make a show that was very well received by the audiences.
My involvement with Scotch'n'Soda was getting to do something that no one would ever pay me to do, which is choreography. And the show I did was called Glitz. It was a musical extravaganza story about Hollywood in the 30s. I think we did Sunset Boulevard before they did, but it was that kind of thing. And every number was a rip-off of some style. Now, I had danced, but I was not a dancer. I was not a dance theater major, but I knew how to choreograph on people that were not dancers because I had been choreographed on. So every move that looked slick but was easy to do, I stole. I stole everything. We did a number based on a musical version of The Scarlet Letter, if you can imagine, which was absurd and was done sort of like a varsity drag number. I ripped off Three Penny Opera, and we did sort of a Brechtian dance around the tables thing. There was a tango. It was great fun. I had no restrictions. Unlike working in the drama department, I wasn't being graded. I wasn't being judged particularly. I could just let it fly.
I did the recording of What's Her Face with my roommate at the time, John Hain, on equipment that we'd built entirely ourselves, including the lathe work and machine shop work, the microphones and everything else done in the Carnegie Theater, the drama department's theater. And we thought that was quite an exciting experience because it was all student-built equipment as well as recording itself. We were in the ballroom in the old building that's been torn down. We were sure the whole time we were there that that light pipe over the house was going to fall down because it was staples into the ceiling with lead anchors. But I gather it lasted for the whole 30 years of the building, so much to our surprise. When I was there, we still had the old resistance boards, the piano boards. That were big, heavy clunkers that we used to heat pizza during rehearsals. I understand they were jettisoned the year after I left and replaced with a little electronic board. That's experience that people aren't going to get anymore. And we also, on resistance boards, had to use ghost loads, which were old spotlights stuck back in the dressing room, so that every time there was a light cue, something happened in the dressing room also, which generally startled whoever was changing their costumes.
In the auditions, there was this girl who came in who had the voice of an angel, absolute angel. And she was very nervous, but she was perfect for this role. And I remember the first time she and I went to rehearse it, I wanted to be alone with her. It was just she and I and the pianist. And I didn't say a word for the entire song. I said, I think I'll stop you and we'll discuss and break this down. And I didn't say a word the entire time she sang. And it was very hard for me to stage that scene, but we did a lot of character work, and I just let that angel voice speak for itself, because that was really the message of the play, you know, keeping your ties, learning from them, and then moving on.
You held my hand in the dark, told me one day I'd see. Where have all the days disappeared for you and me? You said I'd learn the game soon enough, jump in and find my way, but you were always there for me if I started to stray. All I've got left are street signs and neon smiles, block after block of gutters that stretch for miles. And who's gonna hold out their hand and take mine when it's dark inside? Make staying worthwhile. Be my sister. You called me sister. I held your hand in the dark. Where have you gone? Knew that one day you'd see. Tell me, sister. 3 years and empty belief. Is it time to move and no place to be? You have so much to give and no one to give it to. Be so brave, be so strong, I can do it. Take 'em all on you, just watch me, sister. Wasting your time each night, taking some more of it. Never better, nothing stewing, couldn't care less, nothing doing, not a problem, sister. Soon there'll be nothing left, no more to give. Believe me, I knew. Keep something, sister. I feel nothing, sister. I called me sister. Hold out your hand and take mine when it's dark inside, and stay for a while. And it may take time, but I'll find my way. And if they make me climb, I'll be okay, sister. As the red light dims, listen, the song of the street lamp is calling. As the red light dims, listen, the song of the street lamp is calling. As the red light dims, listen, the song of the street lamp is calling. As the red light dims. We're sweeping college campuses with its little step we bow. And those who stamp us out the ones we sound around. It's a batch of homemade tonic. If you get started, man alive, it's just simply so symphonic. So catch us now as we arouse the jungle cat that hides inside you. Please proudly take your bows and let the Bronco Busters ride you. The big red the big red A. When it comes to stay. Don't try to alter nature's course. Biology is still the boss. The big red A, big apple, will have it say, big apple. His words are exciting, they get them in writing today. Won't be a victim of the big red A. At 6 o'clock, in the shadow she cowers. At 7 o'clock, her Lothario calls. At 8 o'clock, we will send her some flowers. At 9 o'clock, off to the ball. At 10 o'clock, they are dancing and dreaming. 11 o'clock, they'll be up and away. 12 o'clock, that Lothario scheming. How's he gonna get his cutie in the hay? Hey, Juliac and Akazaki. Hey, Juliac and Akazaki. Hey, Juliac and Akazaki. Won't be home until the crack of day. Big red A. When it comes to stay. Don't try to alter nature's course. Biology is still the boss. The big red A, big apple. I like the day, big apple. The chap with the apple will offer a big juicy bite. It used to come, big apple, to demon rum, big apple. You could be mistaken, and what you might take it. When the vodka's got you tight, for no matter how tight, it's still a sin if you open someone's left ear. Even if you plan to never be a wife. Be the piper, he never stole him. The food that's riper will leave you swollen. The big red A has got you for life.
The very first thing that I gravitated towards when I got to Carnegie was Scotch'n'Soda. Chiefly the opportunity to get in there and write and produce plays and all that. So it really was, from the very beginning of my experience at Carnegie Mellon, Scotch'n'Soda and Carnegie Mellon are intertwined for me. Scotch'n'Soda was a huge part of my education there, and doing all of that independent work with Scotch'n'Soda and through Scotch'n'Soda and taking advantages of the opportunities that Scotch'n'Soda gave me was crucial to the kind of college experience that I have. I don't think that, with the exception of a semester I spent abroad, there wasn't a single semester where I wasn't completely committed body and soul to some Scotch'n'Soda project.
What I remember is being in Skybo at 4 in the morning, taking apart the lighting cord, and all of us in there together, sitting endlessly unwrapping light cord for this project. The fun we had, the incredible feeling of accomplishment, the incredible pride, but mainly it was just good fun. And it was good fun with people from so many diverse interests that when we were working together for this, and I think it was the most invaluable thing that I did at Carnegie Tech.
Scotch'n'Soda was one of the things that really unified the school, whereas very few things could. I mean, football is one thing and basketball was another, but here was something that everybody could participate in. It was a moment. It didn't matter whether you were a Maggie Murph or whether you were an architect or whether you were an engineer. If you could carry a tune, you could be in Scotch'n'Soda. And the other thing is, at that point in time, the drama department did not have a musical comedy option. So for any of the performers or any of the directors or anybody working in the drama department, this was their only exposure to musical theater. And I think that it was because of the constant badgering by the students to be in Scotch'n'Soda that the department ultimately recognized musical comedy as a viable art form and put it in as a major. So I think the drama department or the drama students owe a great measure of thanks to Scotch'n'Soda.
It was a lot of competition, and that was a great thing. There was so much explosiveness of wonderful ideas for costuming, sets, new innovative dance style, you know, crazy ways of singing because we weren't really that well trained. It was wonderful. And it was an electric time I have never forgotten. I remember Barbara Hall with those long, gorgeous legs, and she had the patience of Jove with all of us teaching us dance steps. We were all klutzy because we were singers. And there was Frank Gorshin, my Frank, John Conboy, great big John, my love, my John. All these things run through my mind, you know. It was an experience and a half, and I lived to do that show every year.
There was a song that Kenny Welch did called Does the Sun Ever Shine in Pittsburgh, which was an apropos of that period when Pittsburgh was flourishing, but you couldn't see it. And there was no question in anyone's mind who lived here that it was a dirty, smoggy, smoky town, which it still exists. However, it isn't smoky anymore, nor is it wealthy as it once was, because as the smoke billowed, so did the profits. But at that time, you know, you truly could have days where at noon you turned the lights on. You could, I can remember wearing 2 shirts in one day and things like that. So when he did the number, Does the Sun Ever Shine in Pittsburgh, it just brought the house down. And I know that in years after that show was over, that the song was still done in many reviews in this town, unaffiliated with the Scotch'n'Soda, and it became a real sort of period piece. And I think that you could play at any time to anybody who lived during that era, and it would still bring smiles to their faces.
The times they were moving on. And Americans were moving too. The lad that had a gal in Kalamazoo ultimately left his heart in San Francisco. And the pawn shop on the corner in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, couldn't stop lovers from leaving on a jet plane for New York, New York. And Scotch'n'Soda naturally caught the travel bug. So, all aboard, we're moving on out.
I woke up this morning with a San Francisco smile. San Francisco morning, stay with me a while. No good blues put me to bed last night. Prayed I wouldn't wake up till it was all right. Blue and pink frosting on the outskirts of town. Light traffic on the thruway, drop my toll change on the ground. Over the bridge there's a cloud of haze, windshield fogged, my head is in a daze. see the sun someday. What was I to say? Any city in the USA sees the sunshine every day, but not Pittsburgh. No, not Pittsburgh. Does the sun ever shine in Pittsburgh? Has anyone seen the sun in Pittsburgh? The sun shines west.
The sun shines east.
We know where the sun shines least. P-I-double-T-S-B-U-R-G-H. Pittsburgh.
Does the sun ever shine in Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh? If I never had a cent, I'll never be as rich as Rockefeller. 'Cause how can I direct my feet to the sunny, sunny side of the street?
Shine on, harvest moon. We'll see you someday when the smoke and the smog of Pittsburgh roll away. Does the sun ever shine in Pittsburgh?
Has anyone seen the sun in Pittsburgh?
The sun shines north.
The sun shines south.
We get the news by word of mouth.
P-I-double-T-S-B-U-R-G-H.
Pittsburgh.
Does the sun ever shine in Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh?
On the roads in PGHPA, where the little Steelers play. When the dawn comes up, we wonder, is it night or is it day?
Night or day, which is the one? Are we here beneath the moon or under the sun? Our dilemma won't be through. We'll never know what the sunlight can do till we move away from PGHPA.
Does the sun ever shine in Pittsburgh?
Has anyone seen the sun in Pittsburgh?
The sun shines west.
The sun shines east. We know where the sun shines least. P-I-double-T-S-B-U-R-G-H.
Would you like to see the moon, see the stars, see the sky?
Would you like to hang your washing outside to dry? Wait till the sun shines, Nellie. If you can breathe that long,
if you can live that long,
if you can wait till the day when you're old and gray, silver threads among the gold. The sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home, but it sure never shines on Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh.
I was the president of Scotch'n'Soda for 2 years and the musical director for 3 years between 1987 and 1990. I came to Carnegie Mellon as a history major, interested in bagpiping and acting, and soon wound up in Scotch'n'Soda. Was very involved from my first year on. Back then, of course, we were in Skibo, and I'm sitting right now in front of the new University Center, which I'm very excited about. We'll be in here this fall. Of course, when we were in Skibo, we had a 6-foot by 6-foot office, and we had to fight noise from the Carnival Midway during all of our productions, and those stupid columns that ran up the middle of the room.
And I think I was technical director for the Scotch'n'Soda. But also a frustrated actor who, and you could act a good deal in the department in those days. I remember Andrew Sisters number of some sort that Ernie and Al and I did in drag, we now learned later, a phrase which didn't exist, I don't think, in those days. I remember previewing it in the Beanery, which was the old airplane hangar where the library is now. As a kind of come on to whip up student excitement to come see the show. I was just looking also at your scrapbook here, preview number 2, and the full stage shot of Rockin' Riot with all the chorus boys and girls with tartan plaids on. What I'm sure very few people will notice is at their feet are some strange little square objects, which were skyboat trays. And I remember having to go to the Skybo food management, begging them to give us 23 trays all the same color. This was a giant chorus line type tap number, which still rings in my ears as I reflect on it.
I had a great time starting from the beginning, and I started hanging out, of course, with the dramats and the crazy people in the art department. And I mean that literally. Then I started dating a young man named Louis Balno, who was a set designer. And I think it was he that first told me about the auditions for Scotch'n'Soda. Scotch'n'Soda! You could perform without being an actor. I knew from experience that put me up against any professional performer and I would never get a part. But here the dramats were not allowed to audition. So I really had a shot. And I went into audition for What's-Her-Face. I remember my audition was to play a Dracula woman whose name was Lillian Alucard Bleu. I lose more tongues that way. And I'm half Hungarian, I can pull that off. And they seemed to like me and offered me the role. They found out at that time that I had kind of a rubbery mouth. Later on, that stretched to the rest of my body, but in those days it was just reserved for the mouth, and they used my poster, and I had a great time. It wasn't a huge part, but I got to dance in the great production numbers, and Louis helped me with making the costume. My mother pitched in. Everybody pitched in those days. It was a big, long process. I don't know if I actually went to classes. I must have, but I don't remember any of that. All I remember was rehearsing and being with these great people, putting on what I thought was a wonderful show.
The key people for me that I worked with, particularly when I was directing, were now Iris Rayner Dart, then Iris Ratner, and Steve Schwartz, who listed himself as Lawrence Stevens and Stephen Sanford and I think several other imaginations of his name. When Stephen showed up as a freshman the year we did What's-Her-Face, the idea of having one composer actually write a score with someone was decided because of his desire to do it. We'd never had somebody willing to write the whole score before. So What's-Her-Face was the first time that we actually had a composer, lyricist, book writer combination that did the whole show. And we were all very ambitious and thought we were doing, you know, the great American musical and had a wonderful time. I must say that my memories of Scotch'n'Soda are my happiest memories from college.
How I got to be at Carnegie is essentially that I didn't get into Harvard or Yale. And it was April of my senior year in high school. And since Harvard and Yale were the only colleges I'd applied to, I was not going to school. And my father was working at the time on some of the exhibits for the New York World's Fair of '64, and one of the pavilions involved work by the scenic designer, the Broadway scenic designer Joe Malziner. And in talking with Joe and some of his staff, and talking about his poor son who had been rejected from college, he mentioned that I was interested in theater, and they said, well, if he wants to study theater, maybe he should consider Carnegie, since that's the best undergraduate drama school in the country. And so I went down and interviewed at Carnegie and was accepted, and it was one of those serendipitous situations where I think I wound up at the place I was supposed to be all along. I began in the drama department as a playwriting major, but fairly quickly changed over to become a directing major because the playwrights were sort of off by themselves, and the directors could study a much wider breadth of subject matter. And I guess the first week that I was there for orientation, all the clubs presented their little enticements to the freshmen to try and lure them to participate. And one of those clubs was Scotch'n'Soda, and this is when I discovered that there was an organization that produced an original musical every year. And since my ultimate goal was to write for the musical theater, this was a wonderful opportunity for me. And so I volunteered and was snapped up. I met with Iris Ratner, who was writing the show that year, and played her some music, and we began to write, and that began the history of my experience at with Scotch'n'Soda. I have often publicly credited, and therefore I see no reason not to say it again now, the experiences of doing those 4 shows for Scotch'n'Soda as being the most valuable experience that I had in preparing myself for what in fact became my career, which was then musical theater, and now seems to be musical theater translated into animated features, but it's essentially the same thing.
In 1962, I was accepted as an acting major in the drama department, but I have to admit I feared from day one that they meant to send me a rejection and someone made a clerical error. In my freshman year, Edith Skinner told me I had a baby talk R and a Pittsburgh accent. Lou Palter said I would never be a good actress if I hung on to my virginity. Cecil Kitcat announced in front of the entire stage movement class that Iris Ratner has a tight crotch. Obviously reiterating Lou Palter's sentiment. Maybe I decided all of this means that I'm not cut out to be an actress. Coincidentally, the next year, I heard that the Scotch'n'Soda Club was looking for ideas for their new musical, and I went into what I later realized was my first writer's pitch meeting. I remember sitting on a folding table and telling my idea to Larry Miller, who giggled a lot, and then said, "Go write it." I went off that June to summer stock to act, and since the parts I had were so small, there was plenty of time in between for me to write a libretto for What's-Her-Face on a steno pad with a pencil, the 60s version of a laptop. When I returned to school in the fall, I got a telephone call. A young man was phoning to tell me that he was an incoming freshman and a composer, and since I was writing the book and the lyrics for the upcoming Scotch'n'Soda, perhaps, he said very hopefully, I'd like him to write the music. I sighed and told him I'd give him a chance to try his music out on me. But frankly, I was a junior by then, and I couldn't imagine how some freshman could possibly understand the depth of my play. I'll meet you at the call board, I said, and we can go up to one of the rooms and you can audition for me. And he agreed. Oh, and when I get to the call board, how will I know it's you, I asked. This was his answer. I looked like a cross between Ringo Starr and Barbra Streisand. We met at the call board. He's a lot cuter than both of them. And his music even then was magical. We wrote What's-Her-Face together, and then the next year we wrote Nouveau with Larry Miller. And after I graduated, that composer, who was 16 when I met him, went on to write Pippin, Godspell, The Magic Show, Working, The Baker's Wife, the Oscar-winning lyrics to Pocahontas, and the lyrics for Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame. Those are just a few of the reasons. I'm so glad I didn't break his heart that day he called by saying what I was thinking, which was, "Go away, kid, you bother me." We're so lucky to have him here tonight, because he wasn't in our class, to play a medley of songs from 4 years of Scotch and Soda, and I'm proud to present him to you, my collaborator and friend. Neither Ringo Starr nor Barbra Streisand can hold a candle to him, the extraordinary Stephen Schwartz.
Give him hell, kid.
Give it a shot.
Cold the wind, cold the sea, warmer climes are calling me. Where the air sings, I must be. Pippin, Pippin. Try to hide, try to dream. Life provides a harsher scheme. Dreams are seldom what they seem. Pippin, Pippin. That beautiful melody was written by Ron Strauss, and it was the first I'd ever heard of his idea to write a musical about the son of Charlemagne. As Iris said, about 5 years later, with a different concept and book and score, Pippin opened on Broadway. But his first incarnation was by Ron and me, Scotch and Soda, 1967. Come with me where life is free, wine and song and laughter. If you do, I'll give to you anything you're after. Life's too dear to waste on fear, all our time we borrow. Live today as if to say, I will die tomorrow. Live today as if to say, I will die tomorrow. Though you go to face the unknown, my love, nevermore will you be alone, my love. Hopes may crumble, dreams may go amiss, but remember this: most people never find someone to care, someone who wants only to be there. But you are lucky, or didn't you know? Somebody loves you wherever you go. Go where your restless mind tells you you must. All I can do is just wait and trust. Lovers may wander, but love will pursue. Somebody loves you, whatever you do. Do what you will to try to forget. A heart still stays warm and tears stay wet. Though you may cry to heaven above, you cannot deny a beautiful, beautiful love is a gentle thing, soft as a song, but it can last for a lifetime long. Time cannot cover what lovers can give. Somebody loves you as long as you live. Well, the following year for Scotch and Soda, I tried my hand at writing opera with a one-act called Voltaire and the Witches. But tonight, I'm going to spare you my rendition of one of the soprano arias, and I'll segue to sophomore year, when Iris and Larry Miller and I collaborated on a spoof of the pop art scene called Nouveau. There's a new day that is dawning, and we'll ride through it like kings. rings. Now that we've found our own merry-go-round, we'll go reaching for all those gold rings. Let the band strike up a chorus from the flute to the bassoon. Sing along, boy, 'cause they're playing your song, boy, and you're the one calling the tune. Right now the march of time is marching for you. It's all so sudden and it's suddenly so new. There's a new day, lift your feet up, lift your head up, look around, lift your hand up, and now just try to stand up with none of you touching the ground. Yeah, you know, no one laughed when we did that joke in the original show either. We thought it was a riot. This is the ballad that closed the show. The long silver grasses of summer, they cry in the wind from the sea, and each whisper I hear seems meant just for my ear, and I know that they're calling to me. If I turn from a road that is rocky to travel a path that is fine, can I ever suppose that one delicate rose or one glorious taste of the wine will be mine? So I must set out, though I'm bucking the tide, to a call I can never deny. With my coat collar up and my eyes open wide, I know I can reach the beach by and by. It's a journey that's never been easy, but if you'd like to give it a try, then take hold of my hand and we'll walk on the sand, and we'll see that those grasses that cry never die. But I think my fondest memory of Scotch'n'Soda was my very first show, What's Her Face, written with Iris and directed by Larry Miller. It was the Cinderella story of a cleaning lady who becomes the national spokesmodel for the fabulous cosmetics product Gruber's Gook-On. You could be the newest sensation, you could be the Gruber creation, your face known to all of the nation, monetary remuneration if you would give it a whirl. Your face is worth a fortune, a million, maybe two. Venus to Milo, Nefertiti, got nothing on you. That face could earn you money if you knew what to do. Helen of Troy looks just like a boy next to the likes of you. Your lips are just like rubies, your teeth like pearls transcend the theory that's prevailed for years. The diamonds are a girl's best friend, you've only got to enter, and you could win the race. Win place or show, girl, give it a go, girl, come on, get in there, you fortune face. Of all the songs that I wrote for Scotch'n'Soda, this one from What's Her Face with lyrics by Iris Ratner is probably the best remembered. To this day, alumni really still do come up to me and sing it. Of course, usually they've had a few drinks, but nevertheless. They all come around, they do. They come around looking for you. When Mama said long ago, all things will come in time. You are too hurt to listen to reason or rhyme. Too long they've been unaware. Then suddenly they know you're there. You've waited so long for them to notice, and now the longing is gone, and it's crazy somehow. You laugh at yourself for the times that you yearned as you wanted and waited in vain. But now with a vengeance the tables have turned, and somebody else feels the pain they do. and somebody else feels the pain. They all come around, they do. But now that your longing is through, you can't find the words to say it's not like before. Oh, they all come around when you want them no more. Yes, they all come around when you love them no more. Doubt is past, fear is gone, hope and promise drive me on. Who's the new phenomenon? Pippin, Pippin, may success be your blessing forevermore.
If you can't make it tall, make it bigger. If you can't act at all, show your figure. If you must shoot the works, pull the trigger. Give 'em glitz, give 'em tinsel and tack. If you can't make it good, make it splashy. If you can't make it splash, make it slashy. You can cash in a flash if it's trashy. Give 'em glitz, give 'em tinsel and tack. If the drama won't work, give it laugh lines, and the viewers will stand up and cheer. Give it songs so you can cut in half lines. Do your best with that chestnut King Lear. If the stars are upset, get 'em ready. Smother the set in confetti. Make 'em dance up a storm till they're sweaty. Good taste has thought of nothing better since those three essential ingredients: tack, tinsel, and glitz.
Shoot the glitz, on with tinsel and
that is dawning, and we'll ride through it like kings. Now that we've found our own merry-go-round, we'll go reaching for all those gold rings. Let the band strike up a chorus, from the flute to the bassoon. Sing along, boy, 'cause they're playing your song, boy, and you're the one calling the tune.
You have so much to give, and no one to give it to.
Be so powerful, be so strong, I can do it. Take them all on, you just watch me, sister.
Wasting your time each night, taking some more of it.
Never better, nothing's doing, couldn't care less, nothing doing, not a problem, sister.
Soon there'll be nothing left, no more to give. Believe me, I knew.
Would you like to see the moon, see the stars, see the sky?
Or do you like to hang your washing outside to dry? Wait till the sun shines, Nellie. If you can breathe that long, if you can wait till the day when you're old and gray, silver threads among the gold. The sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home, but it sure never shines on this good Pittsburgh.